Welcome to Soul Sync, the show that dives deep into the intricate world of relationships. That's right, relationships. We're here to explore how couples can navigate these complexities. We need to strengthen their bonds and build a supportive partnership where both individuals can thrive. Join us right now as we unravel the unique dynamics and discover pathways to connections. Welcome to Soul Sync at the Counseling Corner. Let's get into the show. We are here right now to get deep into it. Let's go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone, to Soul Sync. That's right. Tonight we are here, and I thank you all for being here for our second opportunity on Soul Sync to talk to you about relationships and the complexities of relationships and how we can move forward, how we can get healed, how we can do so many things to have a fruitful, lovely relationship. So listen, we're here to talk about something that I believe needs to be spoken about. Now, you know, we talk about relationships a lot. We share from the cup of our lives. We talk about different dynamics of a relationship. And I just felt, because I care about people and I care about people striving to have better relationships, but sometimes there are areas and pockets within our conversing that we miss or we don't talk enough about it. Last week, we talked about my partner has OCD, because many times we talk about these things separately, but we never most times don't connect when we're in a home with certain individuals and both people are dealing with something. One is dealing with something, another one can't really elaborate what it is they go through, or they just go through a lot of complexities within the relationship. Here on the Bravo with Sheila Network, we deal with a lot of things, but mainly we deal with relationships. Monday nights, Beyond the Mic is hosted by Dr. Elaine and her side partner, her co-host, Dawn B, who is on Thursday night. But both of these young ladies speak about in depth about relationships. They have panels that come on. They really chop it up in order to give great advice and to help people to understand what they might be going through, either now or down the line. So, being that we're in the middle of the week, I decided, it dropped in my spirit one day, to just talk about the dynamics from the counseling perspective on how you deal with certain issues, certain maybe mental health problems in a relationship, and how can someone deal with it, accept it, and still remain together. I know there are many relationships that have issues in their marriages. I don't want to say issues, but let's just say some areas where they don't know how to navigate through. And so a lot of times what happens is people begin to get frustrated, and all you find is just the arguing and the bickering because of certain traumas that each person has walked through in their lives. And so when trauma meets, when your wound meets, and you both are trying to experience a healthy relationships without help, without understanding about one another and the traumas that you both came in the relationship with, it's very difficult to push through it or to understand it on your own. Now, we know in relationships, after coming out of one relationship that might not have been a good relationship, or maybe there was some traumatic experiences in that relationship, and say you break up and you don't deal with the trauma that you've gone through, and you wind up meeting someone else and start bonding with that person. And what happens is you come into a relationships with trauma bonding. And we'll talk about that at another point. That's not really the focus of this, although it's related to what we're talking about. What happens is in relationships, because we all have a past that we've come from, we all have certain experiences we've come from, not just from relationships, but from growing up. Maybe our homes weren't what we would call a positive environment. Maybe there was some mishandling of you growing up. There's a plethora of things that we as people grow up with, sometimes never, ever getting in a space to deal with these traumas. Sometimes they're unspoken traumas. And then what happens is you live your life and you go from person to person, or you just have one person you're dealing with, but it's like you're living in hell, because there is sometimes a time where you will not be vulnerable. It takes a lot. It takes a lot for people to uncover themselves. It takes a lot for people to become naked before you. You know, I always say that it's a situation where I can take my clothes off, right? And I can put my clothes back on. But when I'm in a relationship, or I trust you with me, when I trust you with what I've gone through, when I trust you with my pain, when I trust you with my wounds, that's a whole nother nakedness. It's a nakedness of my vulnerability. It's a nakedness of my life. And when it's mishandled, what it does, it chips away at us. It chips away at you. It chips away at me, to where it will take a while for that to be healed. And sometimes people never get the healing process because they don't stop, they don't pause, and they don't reflect on what they're carrying enough to go and get help or to talk about it. Again, it is not easy all the time to talk about something that you went through that caused you pain or discomfort, or maybe a betrayal. It's very difficult. But I want to let you know that the sooner you deal with it, the sooner you deal with you, the sooner you allow the healing process to come in, that's when you will really be living out of a fruitful space. Now, we're talking about tonight, we're talking about the evidence of two individuals who have both gone through trauma, and now they're together. Now, do these individuals talk to each other about it? Again, sometimes you don't come into a relationship exposing what you've gone through, because again, trusting someone with you and being vulnerable is not an easy thing to do. But sometimes we as women, we never ever get to the point to let someone know us totally. we hold on to a piece of that to have a little bit of control with our own emotions, a little bit of control over what we don't want to share. But then again, is that fruitful? Is that a good thing to do? Again, we must have someone that has earned the trust and that you feel comfortable enough to talk to. So when you have two people who have gone through trauma, right? And I don't know too many people in this world that has not had some type of traumatic experience that and it's based on the level of the trauma, right? But some people can handle a trauma. Let's give it a gauge from 1 to 10. There are people who have had a trauma gauge. This is just hypothetically, say a level of 3 of trauma. And then there's a person with a level of 9 based on what the trauma experience was, right? So we have to understand that when we're in a relationship, we need to deal with what it is that we need to deal with it, because why be with someone if you can't share? And I know it takes a while to feel that connection where you can share. And it's okay to talk about it, but then what are you going to do about it, right? And so people would say that trauma is not capable. It's not a compatibility, I should say. But trauma compatibility is a big thing. It can go 2 ways. And because we have been talking a lot on this channel about relationships on Monday nights with Dr. Elaine and Thursday evenings with Dawn B, Thursday nights with Dawn B, here I am in the middle of the week trying to give more insight and maybe more connecting with you to understand that you can deal with whatever it is that you need to deal with if you love a person, if you feel that person is worth the ride. Because some folks are not worth the ride. Some people are not worth the hassle, and some people are not worth your time. And so these are the things we have to sit with and understand and be able to share. A lot of women say, well, I'm not telling him everything. I'll just tell him a little bit about me. You know, why? Because you can't trust. You don't want to be vulnerable. You've been hurt before. You've done it before. You've shared before, and it was used as a weapon towards you in the long run. But life is about chances. Life is about taking the leap. Life is about having the faith, right? Believing that something will work. And if it doesn't, believing that God will repair you and restore you. But when you live in this zone, and I'm speaking to myself as well, where you say, okay, I am not going to share too much. I'm not going to expose myself too much, because it's very difficult to get hurt after the trust has been broken. So I want to say thank you so very much for all of you being here this evening. Those of you who bought an expensive seat, or you might be in the orchestra, wherever you are up there and you're not in the chat, I pray that you hit that thumbs up. The thumbs up button means a lot to us content creators. Why? Because it allows YouTube to say, oh, they like their content. Let's push it out into the YouTube streets so other people can hear it. When you come here, and you don't take the second to just hit the thumbs up, but you sit here through the whole program. And that's been happening a lot here on Bravo, and a lot here on the Sheila Ingram Network. You know, people come and sit, and I don't mind that. I welcome you. But when you won't even just hit a thumbs up button, and if you don't like the content, why be here, right? So I ask that you graciously gently tap that thumbs up button, and we are greatly appreciated. I want to say thank you to all of you in the chat who is here. I see the greatest moderator in these YouTube streets is here once again with us in the person of Anania. She is here and she is greeting me. And I'm so happy for you to be here with us, of course. And we have my spiritual daughter in the house, Leslie Tuckett. She's here. And you know, we have Class Manners here on Bravo, and Class Manners on our other channel. In the chat, we say hello to each other and we share, and we are very kind here. And she's saying, good evening, Queen Mama Sheila. Hello, my dear daughter, how are you? And so we have, Ine says, yes, being with someone who can handle the bare you is so important. And I like that. The bare you, the naked you, being naked with someone, being naked where you can get into a relationship and you can share. But what happens many times is we start relationships and we hold back because we don't feel comfortable enough to share. Because again, we have all gone through traumatic experiences or suffered a certain kind of trauma. So this is part one, because I don't like to rush through important information, and I don't like to rush through things that I think is very important for all of us to tap into and take the jewels out of it for yourself. So let's get into the trauma compatibility. And I'm going to also be reading, as you know, I have my notes, and I have things on my iPad and things over here. I'm all over the place because I like to come ready. I like to come to give you sound information. I don't know everything. I know what I know, and I can only give you such as I have. So let's talk a little bit about trauma compatibility. Let's get the definition of what it is. Trauma compatibility in a relationship refers to how well two individuals experiences with trauma, both shared and individual, okay? Healing and well-being within the relationship. So when trauma experiences are compatible, partners can learn from each other's strengths, right? It's a learning process, strengths, and that word, vulnerabilities. Fostering a support system that can lead to a prosperous relationship. It becomes a support environment for growth for both people, because people come together and coming from different upbringings, different home cultures, and they bring it into a relationship and sometimes skip over the pertinent information that is needed to merge into this beautiful relationship. So incompatible traumas can lead to challenges and misunderstandings, potentially hindering the growth of a positive relationship and have a satisfaction ride with a person. So tonight, I just want to go through certain points, and I want to continue next week because it's so much information about trauma compatibility. Now, one thing about trauma compatibility, both people have to do the work. Both have to want the relationship to work. Both have to want to stop the bickering and the arguing and the name calling and using the information. This is a bad thing when people use your information that you give them and trust, and they use it in an argument, or they use it to get one up on you because something has been said between the two of you. That's something that I'm strong about, and I don't like when that happens, because if you respect the person that you're with, and hopefully you do if you're with them, if you have a respect for an individual, you're not going to want to hurt them. I find many times people will guard the friendship of someone and don't say things to a friend, but won't treat a relationship partner the same way. They'll just spew out whatever they want to spew out because they're hurt or something was said or done. And I don't think that that's fair. I don't like it, but it happens all the time. So trauma compatibility is a great thing. I think it's a good thing to bring healing to each other. Sometimes I say, if a man broke you, a man can heal you. If a man has done something to break you down, a man can come back and heal you, and vice versa, right? And so we need to be vulnerable if we can with our partners. Many people are married today, on their way to divorce today, because of this very thing, that they could not work out the traumas that they merged together. They merged their wounds together. So you must always take note of who you're with and why you're with them and what they bring and what you bring. So let's look at a couple of points that I pulled up. Traumas shared. Let's look at that. If both partners have experienced similar types of trauma, they might have a deeper understanding and empathy for each other's struggle. And that is so true. Have you ever talked to someone, shared a story, and they're like, oh my God, I went through that too. Oh my God. And you feel it immediately when a person is saying, and all of a sudden, people think sometimes that's a connection to just go deep into a relationship. Well, that's part of it, but sometimes don't jump too quick. But that is so important to understand the shared trauma that you have with a person. And again, respecting the individual, where they came from, what they're sharing with you. I always stand on when someone comes to me and shares a secret with me, when someone comes to me and shares out of the cup of their life, I guard that Why? Because why would they trust me? When someone can trust you with something so sensitive, when someone can trust you with something they've held tight and maybe never said it to another human, and you turn around and use it against them or don't acknowledge that it's a privilege. It is absolutely a privilege for someone to come and trust you with something that's very, near and dear to their heart. All right. So that is that. And let's keep going. Let's talk about the complementary trauma. The complementary trauma. Partners with different trauma histories can complement each other's strengths and vulnerabilities, creating, listen to me, creating a more balanced and supportive relationship. For example, one partner who has overcome a history of abuse might be particularly attuned to their partner's need for emotional support and safety. Being attuned with your lover, being attuned with your husband, your wife, your partner, right? Just being attuned in your partner's expression and experience. Hallelujah. Listen, while the other partner has had experience neglect, might be a strong and reliable presence. That means this opens the door for a person to understand what you've gone through. It's a problem when you're in a relationship and someone says, oh, that is nothing. That's nothing. I would have got through that. Are you good? Why are you tripping? Listen, that is so rude to tell someone what they're sharing with you that they hold, that took them for a loop. And you're saying that's nothing. No, you have to honor always when people share with you about their life, especially in a relationship. My question is the person you with, are they your friend? Friendship should be the foundation of a relationship. Friendship should be the strong, because friendship has a strong foundation. It's hard to move it if it's a true friend, right? Emotional, sometimes people just skip over the friendship move and jump into whatever they jump into. And later down the line, they have nothing. They're standing on sinking sand because they didn't build a strong foundation. Let's look at neutralizing trauma. Incompatible traumas can sometimes trigger each other, leading to emotional distress and misunderstandings. It probably will happen. However, I heard you. However, when both partners are aware of their triggers and have healthy coping mechanisms, they can work together to what? Neutralize the negative impact of their trauma on the relationships. Notice I said triggers, right? Notice I said healthy coping skills. So that means you should always be working on yourself, whether you're with someone or not with someone. Always working on the things that you've gone through, because in a relationship, it will flare up. It will definitely flare up. And a person can easily see you've been like this for how many years and you haven't worked on it. Don't you want to be better? Don't you want to feel better? But sometimes people can hide behind certain images and certain things about themselves and never show that vulnerability and the pain that's really underneath the debris of their heart. So let's talk about the benefits of trauma compatibility. This is why I'm glad to talk about this, because we're segueing and we're connecting Monday nights Beyond the Mic, and we're talking about Thursday night with Dawn B. We're connecting a lot of what their talks are about. Their conversations are about. They have different panels and guests to come on, professionals and non-professionals, but they're healthy relationship talk that is on both channels. And I commend both of them for adding to the network. Now, benefits of trauma compatibility: stronger connection, a shared understanding of trauma can foster a deeper connection and sense of intimacy. Sometimes there is no intimacy or a lack of intimacy because the very thing that's haunting you and you're harboring by not being free with the person you're with, that could be the stumbling block in between you, your partner, and your relationship. Your deepness needs to happen in connecting with each other and having a sense of intimacy. And there are so many things that block and stop people's growth, your partner's growth. There are things that block and stop where you won't even segue into a relationship for the fear of being hurt again, for the fear of saying, I did that again. I know I would always say, I got one more relationship in me, one more. I just got one more relationship in me. Amen. Because, in a relationship, again, it's so much that goes on if you're going to be in one for real. So listen, let's talk about the increased empathy and support. Partners can better understand each other's emotional needs and provide more effective support during difficult times. When you understand each other's trauma, you definitely, after you shared with each other and something jumps off, they're aware of your trigger. They're aware of something, is because you can tell when you're with someone and you live with someone or you're dating someone and you've really gotten into past the surface and got into them in their heart. You can feel when a person shifts. You can feel it in the environment, in the atmosphere, where something is said or done, whether you said it or someone else. You can see because you care about this person, and you can tell when there is a shift. So partners can be better they can understand each other's emotional needs and provide more effective support during difficult times, even when you're going through a death, even when you're going through some type of loss. When you spent time learning about each other, listen to me, you will immediately understand what that person is going through. They won't have to even speak a word. You can look because you're in tuned with them to understand, that's a spot. That's a spot. That's the best thing that could happen when you're with someone that knows you like that. My God, it's so awesome. Let's talk about improved communication. Open communication about trauma experiences can lead to more effective conflict resolution and relationship satisfaction. There has to be a conflict resolution, in planned. It has to be knitted somewhere inside, because if you're both coming from traumatic experiences, then talking to each other, this is how we need to deal with this. We should deal with it this way. Well, if this happens, notice something is off with me. The communication had to be a deep situation. Greater healing. How about greater healing? A supportive. Notice I'm constantly saying supportive. Must be supportive in the relationship. He's not you, you're not him. She's not you, she's not him, he's not you, back and forth, right? So you got to give the respect that whatever trauma they came from, nevertheless, it's a trauma. So it's not about it being a lesser trauma than your trauma. A trauma is a trauma, and people deal with traumas differently. Some people can't handle a certain trauma. Some people can breeze through it. You got to understand who you're with and why you're with them. So misunderstanding and conflict. Different trauma experiences can lead to misinterpretations of each other's behaviors and reactions, resulting in conflict. It's about the understanding. It's about taking the time to constantly be chatting and talking with your partner about how the experience, imposed on you, how the experience juggled you, how you're not aligned with yourself. Asking someone to have patience with you, asking someone to be kind to you when they see you going, asking someone to not take it personal when you hit a spot. This is so important for people that are in relationships. And I know we get in relationships where we skip right over talking about how these traumas affected us. Two people that come from two experiences. And again, I say I don't know too many people who have not dealt with some level of trauma. And it is worth talking. It can only bring you closer. But again, it must be someone that you trust. Someone that you trust. Many times I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. You thought you were talking to a safety net of people or someone safe, and you wind up sharing out of the cup of your life. Sometimes it might be something that you never shared before, and you take a chance, because that's what it's taking a chance, right? And you share it, and someone mishandles you. And what it does, it causes you to sink back into a shell, if not deeper than where you were. So this is something you must pay attention to. And in time, let people earn your trust. Let people share. It's the same way that you're sharing. You have to protect each other. You have to protect and honor someone when they're sharing with you something that they've gone through that is sensitive. You must honor it, and you must hold it dear to your heart, that they're even allowing you to feel worthy of their life and what they've gone through. So it's very, very important to get improved communication, open communication about trauma experiences, because the only thing can happen with that, the beginning to trust begins to breathe again. Trust begins to again, and not big breaths at first. You like take a little breath because you express something that you normally would not express. How many relationships are out there where people are together right now today that they don't even understand nor are interested in the trauma that their partner has gone through? I mean, this is not a good situation again, but we got to be so careful exposing ourselves. But if you want a healthy relationship and you have a destination in place where you're trying to go, guess what? You guys, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I changed my setup. I'll be right back. Forgive me. Please forgive me. So as I'm speaking to you about this, I want you to understand that pain is pain. And we've all walked through relationships and we've all had misunderstandings in relationships. We all had people betray us that we thought loved us. We've all gone through that, men and women. But what it does, it robs you of the joy, the unspeakable joy that you can have with a person. I know sometimes people say, that's it, I'm done, I'm not, but everyone, you still have to have hope and have faith that there are people just like you. I always say that what I'm looking for is looking for me. I'm always saying that what I'm looking for is looking for me. So eventually that thing has to lock in and connect. All right. So let's talk about greater healing potential. There's so much great potential to heal when you're with someone that you trust and you both have come through trauma together. Identifying the trauma is step number one. Having compassion, not comparing, not using the trauma, not weaponizing. Listen, not trauma bonding in a sense, because there's pros and cons to that. But tonight we're not going to dig into that. But there's so much with people. I'm so concerned, and I love people so much. I'm so concerned about, if you are in a relationship or you desire a relationship, that we walk into a relationship healthy. We walk into a relationship such as I have, but willing to trust the person we're going to sleep with, wake up next to, and yet we can't trust them. That's not a good look. So we understand about trauma, what we walk through, but don't allow the enemy to just rob you of that section and that portion of your life. What about this greater healing potential? A supportive and understanding relationship can facilitate healing and recovery. Listen, sometimes you don't even have to go to a therapist. Sometimes you won't even have to go to a counselor, because the love and respect that you have for one another, you can heal each other. You wasn't even the person that broke you. He wasn't even the person that broke. Listen, but you can come together because of the connection and bring healing to each other. Ooh, can you imagine how strong that is? The bond of it. Oh my God, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. What about misunderstanding? Let's talk about some of the challenges of that are incompatible in trauma, right? And the reason why we're talking about, trauma, the compatibility for in relationships with this is because we always talk about the trauma and we always find relationships breaking. And then you talk to them. I know in my counseling sessions, people that want to walk away from their marriages because he don't understand me. He won't listen. I'm always telling him how I feel. He counts it as nothing. So little things like that can be worked out if you truly care and love someone, but you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And I think it's so beautiful when two people have come from something difficult and they begin to speak to each other and pour into each other and pour grace into each other. And eventually they come to this healing space where they're healing each other. That is so powerful to me. So let's go through the challenges of incompatible trauma. Let's start with the misunderstanding and conflict. Different trauma experiences can lead to misinterpretations of each other's behaviors and reactions. And what happens? It results in conflict. Did you get that? Listen, this is challenges of the incompatible trauma. Let me say it again to you. This is misunderstandings, right? Is different trauma experiences can lead to misinterpretations of each other's behaviors and reactions. Here we go. I'm behaving a certain way because you just said something to me. You done triggered me, boy. You done triggered me. And you know I went through this and but have you talked about it? And again, people weaponize and people use what you share, and it just digs a deeper hole within you. But if you're in a relationship and you're trying to work it out, these are the red lights. There are red lights and green lights in a relationship. We always talk about the reds. No, there's a red zone, but there's a green zone, right? People go on dates and say, oh, that was a trigger. That's a red zone. That's that, I'm not dealing with that. But what about the green zones? We'll deal with that at another time. So triggering and distressing situations. Did you hear me? Triggering and distressing situations. Let's get into it. Partners may unintentionally, what's the word out there? Unintentionally, yes, trigger each other's trauma symptoms. Very important to understand, very important to know, leading to emotional distress and relationship difficulties. Now you kind of worse off than when you came in the relationship, because now this is a problem here. Misunderstanding. That's why the conversation and the talking must happen, the communication, so that when I'm speaking to you and say we're in a misunderstanding, now I'm not going to intentionally hurt you, but at least I can focus on where it's going and I can see, okay, that's a trigger. Let me back up because I care about the person. Let me digress here, right? Because conflict will always come in relationships, but how do you handle it? How do you handle it? So the triggering and the distressing situations, partners may unintentionally. Have you ever said something and they took it the wrong way? And you said, but I didn't mean it like that. But that's what they heard. That was their perception. That's what they took out of it. It's sometimes called selective listening. So it's very important to understand the words you use when you're dealing with your partner, because again, you two can heal each other if you take the time to do so. Difficulty and trust and intimacy. Difficulty with trust and intimacy. Hold on, let me just wipe this because you got me heated here. Let me just take a minute. I hope that this is blessing you. I hope that you are understanding the empowerment that you give each other when you come from traumatic experiences. And again, we all have been through some type of trauma. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about the difficulty with trust and intimacy. Incompatible traumas can make it challenging to build trust and intimacy due to underlying fears and anxieties. That's a big one. Can't open that up. Can't open that box up, cannot open it up, because right here, just even talking about fears and anxiety, you're already anxious from trauma. You know how many people have anxiety because of the trauma they never dealt with, or because of the trauma someone put another layer on top of them. Fears and anxieties. I want this to fall off of you. I want you to be better. I want you to become whole. I want you to not let anxiety rob you, not let fears rob you, but you have to have a consciousness of where you are in you. Where are you on the inside? What is it I need to deal with now, because this thing has been robbing me too long? What is it that the last relationship I was in, and now that I come out of it, I see that I could have handled it different? What is it that you're looking for right now? Trauma compatibility is an important factor in the success and longevity of a relationship. Understanding and acknowledging. I want you to acknowledge, understanding, acknowledge the impact of trauma on both partners is essential for building a healthy, supportive relationship. Now, people say, well, can two traumatized people be together? What are we talking about here? Sure, they can. Yes, they can. Two traumatized people can form a healthy and loving relationship, but it requires awareness, it requires effort, and it requires potentially therapy. Again, I've seen and known people who have come through some bad backgrounds, but they love each other enough to have enough communication between each other, not weaponize and not trauma bond, because remember, trauma bond, pro and cons. But I've seen people who have come from some really rough spaces in their life, but because of the respect that they have for each other, they recognize I've shared out of the cup of my heart. I've shared my secrets with you about what I've gone through. When you find people like that and you connect, what happens is sometimes, again, you may not need a therapist. You may not need a counselor, because when you love someone and you get together, you can heal each other, because love what? Love never fails. You can love someone back to wholeness, but that has to be something and a decision that two people make, because again, we all have walked through a level of trauma, and there's too many relationships going on now that skip over these dynamics and just so-called fall in love. And a year down the road, 2 years, it may pop up 10 years because you didn't deal with the trauma. So these layers must come off so you can have a fruitful, happy, wonderful relationships. We're not even going to talk about if children are involved. So can two people that are traumatized, can they be together? Of course they can. Two traumatized people can form a healthy and loving relationship. But again, it requires some things. There's some work that you have to do. It's possible to build a strong bond and even deepen a bond through shared trauma. You got to understand the positive side of the trauma aspect and the trauma experience. It can also lead to a difficult situation. It can. It's two sides to the coin here, right? The key is for both, listen to me, both individuals to address their trauma and listen to me, lean into healthy coping mechanisms. You can't be in a situation, or you shouldn't. I can't say can't. They teach us don't say can't. We say it would be nice, it would be wonderful if you would come into a relationship and as you shared, once again, the other problem is that people don't become vulnerable because of fear, because of anxiety, because of what the last person did. But how will you have happiness and joy? How can you have a fruitful relationship if you don't trust again? You got to take the chance. You got to take the leap, or either just be by yourself. You're going to be by yourself, or you're going to work on yourself. And like I said, the beautiful thing is people can love each other back to wholeness. So elaboration, and then we're going to close. This is a part 2. I'd love to get a panel up here to share with me, maybe next week, to talk about this. There's so many things that I want to talk about here at Soul Sync. That's right. It's about Soul Sync, and it's about syncing together, being together, growing together. All right. And so listen to me. The elaboration here, sometimes two people with trauma histories can become trauma bonded. And I didn't want to talk about the bonding, but I'm going to touch a little bit, meaning they are both attracted and triggered by each other. That happens a lot of times when people, the trauma bond, oh, you did that. Oh, you went through that. I went through that. Next thing they think they're going to get married because they found one thing in their history that is alike, and neither one has gotten healed in it. Oh, so the stories connect them. Oh, that can be tricky now. That can be very tricky, very tricky. Shared trauma as a bonding agent. In other cases, sharing a traumatic experience can deepen a connection and lead to a more secure and supportive relationship as the couple navigates their pain together, not separately. Listen, this is so important that in relationships, I love people. I love love. I love to see people in love. I love to watch couples that have segued through so much hardship, but found that sweet spot, found that spot where they decided, you know what? No more of this trauma bonding. No more of this, I'm hurting you with words. No more am I going to trigger you. Why? Because I love you. Because we spent enough time for us to earn respect one to another, where I could trust you with me. I could be naked before you, not take this top off and be, no, not the clothes naked. You, the vulnerable part of you, being naked. And that's tricky, because when you become naked and you allow someone to see your emotions in the raw, the rare emotions of who you are, and they mishandle you, Lord Jesus, I don't know what to tell you, because that's a hard one. That's hard to recover, but you can recover. You can trust again, because the same thing, you know what I always say, the same thing that I'm looking for is looking for me. And you can use that too. Know to have faith that whatever you're looking for, it's looking for you too. You do not have to dummy down. You do not have to just accept something because you're scared to be alone. Listen, individual healing. It's crucial for both individuals to address their individual trauma. Don't come into a relationship and try to hide what you've been through, because then now you're not being truthful. It's not on a steady ground. Remember I said friendship, foundation, friendship. Friends, what? Like I've seen many times, female friends will respect their friends and let them do and say whatever to them and still be their friend. And they can go home with their husband or boyfriend and something can snap off and they start calling names and this, that, and the other. What happened to that foundation of friendship? What happened? It's just so many things entailed in relationships that even if you're not in one, continue to work on you, because trauma will show up if you don't work on it. A trigger will happen. You will boop, boop, walk into a trigger. Listen to me. So realistic expectations. Traumatized people may have difficulty with intimacy and trust. So it's important to have realistic expectations and to be, I'm going to tell you what, patient. You must be patient with each other. You must, and you must talk about it. You got to trust again. Listen, I'm preaching to the choir, I'm preaching to myself. You have to trust again in order to have that thing, that romantic. Ooh, listen, I'm a romantic person. I haven't had a relationship in a lot of years, but that doesn't kill my passion. It doesn't kill loving me, loving love. It doesn't kill my hope. It doesn't kill. So what I love to do is see people who are in love, people who have a sound relationship, who are working towards that place called there, because they have respect for each other and they've allowed each other to be naked in front of each other and be exposed, where you can now heal each other. Don't give your money to the therapist if you got a good man or a good woman. Just go ahead and get on the couch and talk to each other and hold those things dear. When someone shares with you something dear to their heart, you better count it as a privilege. You better count that thing not as no, you count it as a privilege that someone is trusting you with them and their emotions. Listen, that's all I got for you tonight. We are going to come back next week and we're going to talk about some more things, part 2 of this. And I tell you, I think this is a wonderful time to share about relationships. Again, what prompted me to do this, what prompted me to share about Soul Sync, I don't know, the Lord just dropped the title in my spirit. And I'm like, what in the world? Soul Sync. I'm like, oh, okay. You want me to talk about it, or you want me to do it for myself? You trying to send me a little message or what? And then I start thinking about the channel, thinking about the bookends. Monday nights, right? Monday nights, be on the mic. Thursday night with Dawn B. Both relationship channels, both killing it in these YouTube streets. I'm telling you, with rich information, healing. They are killing it. And I says, okay, the Lord says shift. So you got to be sensitive to the spirit. Shift, Sheila, connect. Be in the middle of it and share some things from the counseling perspective on things that need to be spoken about in relationships on the mental health area. Last week, we talked about my partner has OCD. That was wonderful. OCD, people think it's just about cleanliness. No, it's a plethora. It's a list of things. And so understanding people. Understanding when you're in a relationship can give you such a beautiful, beautiful experience with your partner, your husband, your wife, your sister, your brother. Listen, I am so happy to be here with you. I'm going to take it on out. I'm going to move on out of your way tonight. And you catch me next week. You're going to, oh my goodness, the lineups that these girls have for June. You do not want to miss it. If you have not subscribed to Bravo with Sheila Network, go ahead. Just go ahead. A gentle touch of that thumb. It helps and it goes a long, long way. And it's free 99. So listen, let me see who's in the chat. I was so busy chatting and chatting and chatting. Let me put something on while I ease on out of here. Remember that I'm going to put Von Eric on right now. I'm going to put this little Von Eric track that he gave me. And we're going to ease on out. And I'm going to see who's in the chat. And I'm going to greet my people, those of you up at the top. Thank you so much for being here at Soul Sync. Let's go ahead and put some of these comments up before we leave. All right. All right, we're going to start at the top and move it on out. We got Leslie Tuckett in the house, my spiritual daughter. I see you. And being with someone who can handle the bare you. Woo, that's powerful right there. That is so powerful. All right. That was so good. Believing that God will repair you in spaces where the trust was broken. Yes, yes, yes. Ooh. Let me turn it down just a little bit. Just a little bit. You know, this is good stuff right here. This is good stuff right here. Let me keep it moving. Let me keep it moving. I want to thank all of you. Once again, hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. Also, tune into Sheila Ingram Ministry channel. Sheila Ingram Ministry Network, I should say. I want you to do that and tune in with us there. Hey, we got the pastor in the house. Trauma-induced anxiety. Yes, yes, and yes. You know I love you. You know I love you. All right. Yes. Oh, Sean. Hey. Oh. I love you. Bye-bye.